In this week's Behind the Headlines.
It's so scary that somebody that we knew all these years flipped a switch. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
The community has been blindsided. I don't think they ever saw something like this coming.
This case from the very beginning struck me as odd.
What fueled a mild-mannered Midwesterner from Blooming Prairie, Minnesota, to allegedly shoot her husband and go on the run in his SUV, heading cross-country to Fort Myers Beach, where she was ready and willing to kill again?
How can you be such a nice person and then turn into a monster?
Lois Riess simply snapped.
It's overriding everything, every value that you have, because you need to be satisfied.
Maybe it was the tens of thousands of dollars she blew in casinos, money she stole from family, money she lost. Maybe she was going for broke.
And she knew eventually she was going to get caught. She had to. Well, first of all, you're not running from the U.S. Marshals. That's just not going to happen.
Driving, killing, stealing until she got nabbed in a Texas restaurant with nothing left to lose.
She looks like anybody's mother or grandmother, yet she's an absolute cold-blooded murderer.
We're breaking down our in-depth coverage into the Lois Riess crime spree, along with the latest in our Positively Healthy Medical series. I'm Amy Osher, and this is Behind the Headlines. I'm Amy Osher. Thanks for joining us. A gun-toting grandma is certain to grab headlines, and this tangled tale spanned thousands of miles. We sent a team from the news press to Lois Riess's hometown to try and unravel what may have caused her to snap. Here's reporter Amy Bennett Williams.
It started here, Blooming Prairie, a quiet South Minnesota town in the middle of black earth farm fields, centered around grain elevators, sliced by train tracks that carry off loads of corn and soybeans.
It's a very giving community. It just never ceases to amaze me, some of the fundraisers that they have. A town of 2,000 can get together on a weekend, Friday, Saturday night, and some of them, bring in $80,000 in one weekend, and it just blows my mind sometimes.
Here, neighbors know each other. People leave their doors unlocked and the keys in the truck. They trust each other. Most people were born and raised here, but occasionally newcomers appear. People like Dave and Lois Riess. More than a decade ago, the couple moved to a ranch house on a hill overlooking the town. Now they're both gone. Dave shot dead, Lois behind bars in Fort Myers, Florida, a suspect in her husband's death and charged with murdering a complete stranger on Fort Myers Beach after leading authorities on a 3,000-mile chase, leaving a trail of broken-hearted loved ones and a host of troubling questions.
It's so scary that somebody that we knew all these years flipped a switch. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. I mean, how can you be such a nice person and then turn into a monster?
The community has been blindsided. I don't think they ever saw something like this coming. It's a very small community, so they know both Lois and David. And, to have something like this happen, it's almost beyond comprehension for a lot of people.
Much like the Blooming Prairie community, those who loved Pamela Hutchinson, Lois's other alleged victim, are also struggling to comprehend what happened. As Lois was fleeing Minnesota, Pam was busy with a new life in Bradenton, Florida, enjoying friends and condo shopping. One of those left to mourn her is Illinois snowbird and former roommate, Barbara Pauls.
I called her girly girl, and then she started calling me Mama Mo, and I said, oh, no. If we're friends, I'm not going to be mama. I'm going to be a girly girl too. We were like best friends, buddies. I mean, I felt like I knew her forever, and she'd confide in me, and I'd confide in her, and we just had a good trust relationship going. The most sad, ironic thing is the day I heard from the detective what happened to her is when the realtor called me and said, Barb, Pam's been approved for a loan for a condo on the waterfront in Bradenton.
When Barbara found out Pamela would be traveling to Fort Myers Beach in April to console a recently widowed friend, she told Pamela about her Fort Myers Beach timeshare, Marina Village at Snug Harbor. By all appearances, Pam relished her getaway, posting on Facebook about watching sunsets, listening to music, and enjoying the nightlife. She told Barbara she'd made a new friend.
She said, hey, Barb, they're letting me stay another night here. And I'm so excited. I met this lady who was alone too last night, and we're going out for dinner tonight. And I just love it here. It's so beautiful. It's so fun. I wish you could have came with me.
That new friend was Lois.
It's a shame a life like hers was cut short. A vibrant, beautiful woman who had a lot of life ahead of her is dead.
Friends think Pam's instinct to help others may have cost her her life, a little more than 2 weeks after Dave had been found shot dead in the couple's home. Married to Lois in 1982, Dave was a Navy veteran who'd enlisted while still in high school. He'd served in Guam before he and Lois returned home to Rochester, 40 miles away from Blooming Prairie. An avid hunter, boater, and fisherman, Dave worked in manufacturing before opening a bait shop in Rochester with a friend. He sold that to follow his dream, moving to Blooming Prairie to raise waxworms in a low-slung barn steps away from the house he and Lois shared. Waxworms, which are really moth caterpillars, are prized by ice fishermen because they stay lively when it's cold. While Dave spent his days in the worm barn below the house, Lois set up a child care business, babysitting town children.
Lois Riess was a daycare provider for a good friend of mine's son when he was little. She was around the community more than he was. My friend used to talk about taking his little boy out to her place, and he thought she was a nice lady. I mean, and so did I think most of the people in town. That's why it's so difficult to even understand or comprehend that this would happen.
Smiley and warm-seeming, the grandmother of 5 appeared to love her young charges. Caring for others was part of her identity. She was also the guardian of her disabled sister Kimberly. Lois and Dave may have been from somewhere else, but they fit comfortably into the life of Blooming Prairie, which embraced them. A year after they moved there, a fire tore through their home. Soon, donation cans appeared throughout downtown, and Rod and Tess Coster, who owned a Blooming Prairie used car lot, put the couple up on the second floor of one of their downtown buildings while the Riesses rebuilt. Dave served on the board of the local servicemen's club, where the couple often grabbed meals. Lois went bowling with the gals at Bunky's, a vintage 4-lane alley.
She fit right in with all the bowling gals and, was friendly to everybody in town. Yeah.
But Lois was struggling with a darker, much less public life. Her sister Kimberly's guardian since 2012, Lois began stealing and ultimately lost tens of thousands of dollars of her sister's money in casinos, court documents show. A favorite spot was Diamond Joe's, just across the Iowa border. By 2015, Lois had moved her sister into an assisted living facility. The state of Minnesota removed Kimberly from Lois's care, while a civil court ordered her to repay her sister $100,000, though Lois was never charged with a crime. Then, weeks before his 55th birthday, Dave was signed up to compete in a fishing tournament, but never appeared. Worried friends called police, who checked the home and found Dave dead, shot in the chest with a handgun. Lois was gone. Eventually, she became the primary suspect, leading authorities on a 27-day chase across much of the central and southern United States.
A chance encounter results in a second murder. Maybe it wasn't as random as first thought. When we come back, more on the fugitive grandma and the woman she's accused of killing in Southwest Florida. Then on to a studio sit-down with the team covering this story.
Life here is amazing, and so is the joint care. At the Total Joint Center at Physicians Regional Healthcare System, we've changed the experience of joint replacement for good. With our comprehensive joint care program, most hip and knee replacement patients return home in just 2 days because we know you want to get on with your active life. Pain-free living starts at Physicians Regional Medical Center, Collier Boulevard, and Physicians Regional Medical Center, Pine Ridge.
My name is Steve Unser, and cabinetry is my specialty. I have been creating custom-designed cabinetry for 20 years in Southwest Florida, and now I am celebrating the grand opening of our new Naples showroom. Steve Unser Cabinetry will help you design your kitchen, bath, or home office with stunning results, offering the best quality of cabinets with a wide variety of design options and pricing to fit any budget. If your kitchen isn't becoming to you, you should be coming to us. Now, 2 locations to serve you.
Hiring the right moving company is important. Best Moving and Storage is a family-owned and operated business serving Southwest Florida for over 22 years. From our free in-home estimate until the last piece of furniture is in your new place or stored in our climate-controlled warehouse, we treat you like family. Best Moving and Storage is fully licensed and insured, with all of our employees being certified drivers and packers. When it comes to protecting your treasured belongings, choose a company that's experienced and trustworthy. Call Best Moving and Storage today at 239-592-6565.
Jean LeBouf has been an anonymous food critic in Lee County for nearly 40 years, and now JLB is expanding into Collier County.
Look for a new review every week. You'll never know where I'll turn up.
Welcome back. We've heard a lot about the suspected killer grandma, but what about her Southwest Florida victim? We'll pick up the story from Amy Bennett Williams.
Law enforcement officials speculate that Lois targeted Pam because the two bore a passing resemblance. Pam appears to have invited Lois to stay in the condo's spare bedroom before Lois allegedly shot her in the chest, leaving Pam's body in the bathroom, a towel stuffed under the door to create a seal.
I could just see her telling her, giving her some sob story that she didn't have a place to stay or whatever. And I could just see Pam, no questions asked, taking her in, you know. It's just like a perfect storm that came together.
Then, driving the dead woman's car and equipped with her ID, Lois was able to withdraw thousands of dollars from Pam's bank account before fleeing north. More surveillance video places her in Central Florida, wearing Pam's hat, and later in Louisiana. Finally, on April 19th, she was captured in a Texas bar on South Padre Island near the Mexican border.
And this is the news press team that brought us this story. We've got Amy, Amanda, and Melissa in studio with us. Amy, we just had new information come down this past week that was really telling about what happened after she left our area.
Yeah, the state attorney's office released about 2,600 pages of documents that include photos, very detailed case notes, images from Lois Riess's cell phone that she got after she left Minnesota and called herself Stormy Liberty. Went to Texas, and while she was in Texas, by all appearances, she behaved a lot like she behaved on Fort Myers Beach, telling people that she was single. She told one woman she was newly widowed, making friends, throwing cash around. One restaurant owner remembers her as a very lavish tipper. She even befriended one woman who invited her home to sleep in her guest bedroom. They went hot tubbing together, and so she, by every indication, was doing the same kind of socializing that she did on Fort Myers Beach.
Do we know if this woman looked like her, resembled her at all, like Pamela Hutchinson?
We have not seen photos of this woman, but she was about the same age. I think she was 59.
Now, Amanda, I know the two of you traveled to Minnesota to talk to people that knew them. What was kind of their thoughts of her personality prior to this?
Everyone said that they knew her a little bit. She kind of seemed to keep to herself a little bit, but everyone said that she appeared to be a loving person. A lot of people had trusted her to provide daycare for their children or grandchildren or friends' children. So everybody
This was a very small town, isn't it?
A town of about 2,000. So everybody was pretty shocked to hear this.
Now,
and
looking
scared.
at your video, is it kind of a rural town, or what do they do there?
It's a rural town. It's right in the middle of cornfields, surrounded on all four sides by cornfields, and there's grain silos. So, and a little working downtown, really cute, picturesque town.
Was anybody there aware of the fact that she was this gambler?
Nobody that we talked to. You know, the casino is about 45 minutes away. It's not in Minnesota, it's over the Iowa border. And, you know, people talk about going there occasionally, but I don't think anyone to whom we spoke had any idea how deep a problem she had.
Now, the other facet of this story, of course, is the victim, and we don't want to overlook them in this piece. And that's really what you honed in on, Melissa.
Yes, I've been speaking with Pamela Hutchinson's family since the crime first occurred, and she was ID'd as the victim. And, you know, it's very difficult when you're speaking to the victim's family because sometimes they don't want to talk to you, but as time progressed, they began opening up to me. And I think what changed it for them was they saw a photo of Lois Riess. She was wearing this hat. And that's when...
that was chilling, seeing her wearing that cap. I think everybody felt that way.
It was chilling. And to hear it from Pam's family, they were really upset because that was Pam's hat. She was really into hats. And we have a bunch of photos of her where she's wearing hats. So, you know, they want justice in whatever way they can. And I think that's what I wanted to get through in the story when I was talking to them.
I think in reading your report, you mentioned that it was her. She had a very gregarious nature, and she didn't know a stranger, and that kind of ultimately crossing paths with someone like this led to her downfall?
Yes, that's what a lot of her friends said. A lot of the friends that she had met in Bradenton, she had met them at bars, and she was just a nice person, and I guess she didn't expect bad from anyone.
And what Amy alluded to as well, that she may have been a victim because she resembled Lois, that had to be also heartbreaking for the family to think of the nature of why she was targeted.
One of the things that the recently released documents go into a little more detail than we had in the past is just how Lois Riess allegedly pulled that off when she went to a branch of Pamela Hutchinson's bank to take out the first big chunk of cash. The investigators talked to the woman who did the transaction, and she said, yeah, I looked at her ID. She didn't look exactly the same, but some time had passed, and I figured, you know, this is just the aging process. And so Lois Riess was allegedly able to capitalize on that other people trust, and they were about the same age, they were about the same build, and that was what she used to impersonate Pamela Hutchinson.
Wow, it's really scary. You had those images side by side, and putting together the video, you saw that. Did you see the connection right away with your photographer's eye that they kind of had a lot of the basic similarities?
A little bit. You know, the sheriff's office had said in the beginning that that's what they thought had happened, so it made it a little easier to see that. But I would see it if you were a bank teller or a bartender that had just met them. I've almost memorized the details of both of their faces from looking at them. But at first glance, it would be easy to mistake one for the other.
One other thing worth mentioning is that because of our modern times, and we talk about cameras always capturing what we're doing, the amount of surveillance tape that they had of them, you know, especially when she's with Pamela. And they look like they're kind of hanging out, and then when you see her after, allegedly, the killing near the elevators, you know, what's that like to be able to enrich your story by actually seeing some things in real time?
Well, thankfully, the sheriff's office had great reports that detailed all of those interactions. So, you know, specifically like in the warrant for Lois Riess, they detailed how she was pacing outside of the elevator after they believed that she killed Pam. So I think that adds detail to the story and maybe gives each person a little more depth instead of just proclaiming oh, she killed somebody.
Sure. It is really creepy, though, to be able to see somebody after maybe doing something so heinous and to see their demeanor and how they may have been acting.
I think that's something that continues to bewilder everybody who knew Lois, who loved Pam. Just that this woman, after allegedly killing Pam, just carried on, went to casinos, bought food, made new friends, but obviously normal circumstances don't apply here.
Well, I liked in your reporting that you mentioned that you found an expert who said that sometimes when people have nothing else going, nothing left to lose, they've hit bottom, they've been cut off and things, they just kind of go for broke.
Yeah, he makes parallels between the disease of substance addiction and alcohol addiction to gambling addiction, and the same mechanisms happen in the brain, and you just reach a point of desperation where your normal morality and the way that you deal with people is just overridden by the desire for the reward.
Well, I know we have much more reporting to do on this, especially as more documents come out and we get more into her head with the trial ahead as well. Thank you very much and stay tuned. Coming up, it's a real pain in the gut, an autoimmune disease that's often misunderstood. That story is up after the break.
My name is Steve Unser, and cabinetry is my specialty. I have been creating custom designed cabinetry for 20 years in Southwest Florida. And now I am celebrating the grand opening of our new Naples showroom. Steve Unser Cabinetry will help you design your kitchen, bath, or home office with stunning results, offering the best quality of cabinets with a wide variety of design options and pricing to fit any budget. If your kitchen isn't becoming to you, you should be coming to us. Now, 2 locations to serve you.
The area's only 30 minutes or less ER service pledge means you'll find less waiting for the care you need. And because we're full service hospitals, a lot more care if you need it. Less waiting, faster care. Only at Physicians Regional Healthcare System.
Is your auto insurance keeping pace with your life? Ask for a AAA Triple Check Insurance Review to see if your current policy is still a good fit. An agent will assess changes in your life, like new vehicles or drivers. Make sure you've got the right coverage and all the discounts you deserve. They'll also see how a AAA membership can round out your protection on the road. Plus, provide roadside assistance, discounts, free services, and vacation extras. Ask for your AAA Triple Check today.
Jean LeBouf has been an anonymous food critic in Lee County for nearly 40 years. And now JLB is expanding into Collier County.
Look for a new review every week. You'll never know where I'll turn up.
We've all experienced occasional stomach troubles, but for some people it's a chronic condition, even an autoimmune disease, one of which is Crohn's disease. Here's the latest in this week's Positively Healthy. Bowel issues are a common subject that many people are reluctant to discuss, but identifying and treating problems early may save a heap of hurt in the long run.
So one of the important things for us is to try to identify patients with Crohn's disease early on, because oftentimes patients go a long time with symptoms before they're ever actually identified properly as having Crohn's disease.
Dr. Michael Crohn is a gastroenterologist with Physicians Regional Medical Group. He explains that Crohn's disease is one of several conditions that affect the digestive system. It's often mistaken for other inflammatory bowel disorders, and symptoms may overlap.
One of the major differences between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease is that ulcerative colitis involves only the colon, whereas Crohn's disease can involve anywhere in the intestinal tract. If it involves the colon, Crohn's disease may have very similar features to ulcerative colitis, such as diarrhea, rectal bleeding, lower abdominal crampy pain. Whereas if it involves primarily the small intestine, Crohn's disease may present more with abdominal pain without the diarrhea feature.
Doctors aren't certain what causes the disease, but the body's immune response kicks into overdrive, triggering an inflammatory sequence.
It's a big cascade of various chemicals that are involved in the immune response and lead to inflammation. And this inflammation manifests itself oftentimes as what we would almost consider like canker sores of the bowel.
There is no cure at this point for Crohn's, but major strides are helping patients better manage the condition.
So there are a wide variety of drugs. There are drugs that we call biologics, and at the moment, biologics are only administered either through infusions through an intravenous line or self-injections like a diabetic would give themselves insulin. There are other drugs called immunomodulators which are available in pill form, and we often use the two, and it's really revolutionized the treatment.
Interrupting the inflammatory process calms the storm within, lessening the likelihood of serious complications and giving Crohn's patients good quality of life.
We may keep them on the medications long term, again, to help prevent relapses and prevent organ damage to the bowel.
We've spent most of this show spotlighting an in-depth look into a high-profile criminal case, but our reporting team is covering much, much more. Here's a look at what's happening on the beat, guys.
Thanks, Amy. I'm Brittany Carloni, and I'm a reporter with the Banner and the Naples Daily News. This week, I worked on a story about a bill that could give Estero its own zip code. The bill was introduced by Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart and was co-sponsored by Congressman Francis Rooney. Estero residents have said one zip code for the village could be a welcome change. Parts of the village have zip codes that are located in Fort Myers, and other parts have zip codes located in Bonita Springs. To learn more about the bill, read my story in Saturday's edition of The Banner and online at naplesnews.com.
Hi, I'm Shelby Reynolds. I'm the food reporter at the Naples Daily News. This last week I visited Juicelation, which prepares organic cold-pressed juice daily. Juicing has been a trendy topic for a while, and it seems to just now be catching on here in Naples. So I sat down with the owner to talk about how Juicelation started and how she's on a mission to change the way people nourish their bodies. Read about it online at naplesnews.com.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Collins. I'm a features reporter with the Naples Daily News. This past month, I've been able to speak to several wellness experts on the topic of mindfulness, living in the moment. I've spoken to yoga instructor, to a holistic health practitioner, to a FGCU professor who puts on mindfulness classes for his students, as well as a meditation expert to find out what mindfulness is and how we can incorporate it in our day-to-day lives. It is something that's been popping up all over Southwest Florida, especially Naples. You see yoga studios, meditation studios, yoga at the beach, yoga at the Flamingo Gardens. It's everywhere. And so I kind of wanted to get to the bottom of it and find out for our readers how you can be mindful as well. For more on the story, visit naplesnews.com.
That's our show for today. As always, we thank you for stopping by. You can always catch up on past shows by logging on to naplesnews.com. On the homepage, scroll down to quick links and select behind the headlines. I'm Amy Osher. See you back here next week.